to today's edition of Search the Scriptures. We are on study 16 in the book of Numbers, which covers Numbers chapter number 22. And we are going to attempt to answer two different sets of questions. The first one being this: Balaam's influence and relationship to God are interesting. Think about them. Consider also Moab's fear in the face of Israel's advance. And what does this show concerning the ways in which God works? And secondly, what was the chink in Balaam's armor, and why did his guidance seem all confused after that? And contrast verse 12 with verses 20, 22, 32, and 35. And what ought we to learn from his failure? And do you think Romans 14, 22, and 23, and 1 Timothy 6, 9, and 10 give us a similar warning? Well, let's look now at this fantastic and fascinating story in Numbers chapter 22, beginning with the very first verse. Then the Israelites traveled to the plains of Moab and camped along the Jordan across from Jericho. Now Balak, son of Zippor, saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites, and Moab was terrified because there were so many people. Indeed, Moab was filled with dread because of the Israelites. And the Moabites said to the elders of Midian, "This horde is going to lick up everything around us as an ox licks up the grass of the field." So Balak, son of Zippor, who was king of Moab at the time, sent messengers to summon Balaam, son of Beor, who was at Pethor near the river in his native land. And Balak said, "A people has come out of Egypt, and they cover the face of the land, and they have settled next to me. Now come and put a curse on these people, because they are too powerful for me. Perhaps then I will be able to defeat them and drive them out of the country. For I know that those you bless are blessed, and those you curse are cursed." And the elders of Moab and Midian left, taking with them the fee for divination. When they came to Balaam, they told him what Balak had said. "Spend the night here." And Balaam said to them, "And I will bring you back the answer the Lord gives me." So the Moabite princes stayed with him. And God came to Balaam and asked him, "Who are these men with you?" And Balaam said to God, "Balak, son of Zippor, king of Moab, sent me this message: A people that has come out of Egypt covers the face of the land. Now come and put a curse on them for me. Perhaps then I will be able to fight them and drive them away." But God said to Balaam, "Do not go with them. You must not put a curse on those people, because they are blessed." And the next morning Balaam got up and said to Balak's princes, "Go back to your own country, for the Lord has refused to let me go with you." So the Moabite princes returned to Balak and said, "Balaam refused to come with us." Then Balak sent other princes, more numerous and more distinguished than the first. And they came to Balaam and said, "This is what Balak, son of Zippor, says: Do not let anything keep you from coming to me, because I will reward you handsomely and do whatever you say. Come and put a curse on these people for me." But Balaam answered them, "Even if Balak gave me his palace filled with silver and gold, I could not do anything great or small to go beyond the command of the Lord my God. Now stay here tonight as the others did, and I will find out what else the Lord will tell me." And that night God came to Balaam and said, "Since these men have come to summon you, go with them, but do only what I tell you." And Balaam got up in the morning, saddled his donkey, and went with the princes of Moab. But God was very angry when he went. And the angel of the Lord stood in the road to oppose him. And Balaam was riding on his donkey, and his two servants were with him. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with a drawn sword in his hand, she turned off the road and into a field, and Balaam beat her to get back on the road. And then the angel of the Lord stood in a narrow path between the two vineyards, with walls on both sides. And when the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, she pressed close to the wall, crushing Balaam's foot against it, so he beat her again. And then the angel of the Lord moved on ahead and stood in a narrow place where there was no room to turn either to the right or to the left. And when the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, she lay down under Balaam, and he was angry and beat her with his staff. And then the Lord opened the donkey's mouth, and she said to Balaam, "What have I done to you to make you beat me these 3 times?" And Balaam answered the donkey, "You have made a fool of me. If I had a sword in my hand, I would kill you right now. And the donkey said to Balaam, Am I not your own donkey, which you have always ridden to this day? Have I been in the habit of doing this to you? No, he said. Then the Lord opened Balaam's eyes, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with his sword drawn, so he bowed low and fell face down. The angel of the Lord asked him, Why have you beaten your donkey these 3 times? I have come here to oppose you, because your path is a reckless one before me. The donkey saw me and turned away from me these 3 times. If she had not turned away, I would certainly have killed you now, but I would have spared her. And Balaam said to the angel of the Lord, Have I sinned? I did not realize you were standing in the road to oppose me. Now if you are displeased, I will go back. And the angel of the Lord said to Balaam, Go with the men, but speak only what I tell you. So Balaam went with the princes of Balak. When Balak heard that Balaam was coming, he went out to meet him at the Moabite town on the Anon border at the edge of his territory. And Balak said to Balaam, Did I not send you an urgent summons? Why didn't you come to me? Am I really not able to reward you? Well, I have come to you now, Balaam replied, but can I just say anything? I must speak only what God puts in my mouth. And then Balaam went with Balak to Kiriath Huzoth, and Balak sacrificed cattle and sheep and gave some to Balaam and the princes who were with him. And the next morning Balak took Balaam up to Bamoth Baal, and from there he saw part of the people. Question number 1, Balaam's influence and relationship to God are interesting. Think about them. Consider also Moab's fear in the face of Israel's advance. And what does this show concerning the ways in which God works? Well, I wouldn't say that Balaam exactly had a relationship with the Lord in any spiritual sense whatsoever. The writer of the book of Numbers does something very subtle and interesting here when referring to God. What the writer does is use the word God instead of the word Lord. Go back and look. And sometimes he uses Lord, sometimes God. There's reasonings there for those subtle differences. In so doing, when he uses the word God, he uses the Hebrew word Elohim for God instead of Yahweh, which is used for Lord, that unpronounceable holy name of the God of Israel. So this makes God into a more generic God, and lets us know that Balaam didn't really view the God of the Israelites as different than any other God of the surrounding people. As a matter of fact, when the word Lord is used, it's kind of to distinguish, okay, I'm talking about the Lord, this God of the people of Israel. This doesn't mean that God didn't speak to Balaam. It just means that God did not speak to him in that intimate way, in the same way as he dwelt among the people of Israel in the cloud of the presence. Balaam didn't really recognize him as the Almighty God. And this just lets us know that God will really use whoever he needs to use to accomplish his will, and he will even place his words in their mouths if necessary, but it doesn't mean that he endorses them as his children. Question 2, what was the chink in Balaam's armor, and why did his guidance seem all confused after that? In contrast, verse 12, 20, 22, 32, and 35, and what are we to learn from his failure? And do you think these passages in Romans and Timothy give us a similar warning? Well, Balaam viewed the Lord in the same way he viewed every other deity, and he was really in it for the money and manipulation. He viewed them as a means to an end. He thought that the gods were something to be used, that God was something to be used and manipulated and appeased when necessary. The truth of the matter is that Balaam had the same warped view of the Lord, the God of Israel, that many Christians have today, or people claiming to be Christians have today. He didn't view him as the Almighty God, the creator of heaven and earth. God does not exist to bring us glory. We were created to bring him glory. It's all about God. It's not about us. I hope this study today in Numbers has helped you. I hope you're not trying to manipulate and use God. I hope that you're not trying to use God for your glory, but you realize that you were created and brought into existence for his glory. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. God bless.